Hi, ladies and gents. So I wanted to go over a couple of problems from yesterday's work just to ensure that your work going forward for today's graded assignment is correct, since there are a couple little issues that do pop up in these quadratic equations. Now, just to remind you, yesterday's assignment, I wanted only the positive answers, but for today's worksheet, really the only format that comes up is to have both solutions. So look for both of your answers in the actual multiple choice solutions and pick the appropriate ones. All right, so let's take a look as we go through here. So I picked off number 2 and number 5 of the worksheet from yesterday. And we actually did number 1. I did a video on that before as well, so take a look at that. But here's the whole thing top to bottom again. So number 2. All right, so number 2 in here, you've got these equations. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's y equals this, or if it's 0 equal to that, or if you see the f of x notation. The first number with x squared is your a value. The second number is your b value, and the last number is your c value. All right, so there's your a, b, and c. So when you plug it into your quadratic formula, there's the whole thing there. So plug in your a values, your b values, your c values. All right, so there we go. Let's walk through this. So in this, we're going to go through and, right, so your b is the opposite of b, so there's your -6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 6 squared minus 4 times a, so that -1, and c is your 2. All over, don't forget the bottom part, which is 2 times -1. All right, so what I go right for that. That's really simple, so that's -2 on the bottom. And then look what's inside this discriminant. That piece is called your discriminant. And be very careful here. Mistakes come a lot from this part. So 6 squared is 36. -4 times -1 times +2 is +8. Even just do the signs first if you're getting that sign confused. And also remember, calculators will do this all as one step. So if you plug that all in, you won't just get this 36 plus 8, you'll get 44. All right, so simplify that all. So now it's -6 plus or minus, don't forget that, radical 44 over -2. All right, so simplifying that going forward, remember at this point your radical is simplified. We can get a decimal for that. And now we're going to split it up. So do 1 with -6 plus, right, plus radical 44 over -2. And it got cut off here, but x equals -6 minus radical 44 over -2. Do 1 with plus, 1 with minus. Right, and when you do that, this left side is going to give you -0.317. And remember, for our application process, this is going back in time, so we wouldn't really consider this. But you do want that for today's answers because it will be listed. But the real answer, this is 6.317. That is your positive answer. That's the time that the object would get back down to the ground. So that's really the solution that you typically want in application problems like the rockets or throwing a ball up, because it's positive. But in today's work, include both. That'll be one of your multiple choice answers. All right? So there's number 2. So, one thing with this, be careful when calculating. I'm seeing issues with this. When you do the problems from here, I'll do this one, for example. I bring up my calculator. When you do this, you must do, right? So -6, I know it's a little weird in these. If you do plus 44, then if you hit the square root, that's the square root of 44. You have to hit equals. So the whole top portion of this, once I hit equals, is this 0.63 number. So then you would divide by -2. So divide by 2 negative, and you get that answer. Right? The difference being, if you don't hit enter on the top after you figure this out, it's going to divide these two by mistake. It's going to do bad order of operations. All right, so make sure you hit enter on the top. If not, let me see, that number would be, if I just do this real quick, would be that, which is a much different answer than what you're supposed to get. So please make sure you add the numerator first, hit enter, then divide by the bottom. I'll do the other side as well just to show you. All right, so 6, I do -6. This is minus 44, which is the radical, and hit enter, or equals. So I get that number and then divide by -2. And you'll see that 6.317 number, which is how I got that. All right, so make sure that you do combine your numerator first, do the top all together, either way, then divide by your denominator, and do not drop that denominator as well. All right, so that should help you for today. You've got some multiple choice questions. Do your best on there, and we'll get one more good grade in. Thanks, guys. Bye. I'm back again. All right, I figured I'd show one more. So here's number 5 as well. So for number 5, again, you've got the A, B, and C values. When you plug it in, you're negative B plus or minus B squared minus 4AC, all those values from the left here, all over 2A. Now be careful, a lot of times this does work out to be 2 times 1 or a negative 1, but you do have different A values, so that'll change this. So really that's a negative 8 that follows all the way through. Inside your discriminant, we're going to simplify that, so 64, and watch your signs, this is 16 times 10, so 160, which is 224. So now we get to the point where we can split it. So remember, do negative 8 plus radical 224, hit enter or equals, then divide by negative 8. That's going to give us negative 0.871. Again, we would throw this value out for application because it's negative. We're not going back in time. But this equation, negative 8 minus radical 224 over negative 8, that is going to reduce and simplify to 2.871. Again, do that negative 8 minus radical 224, enter or equals, then divide by negative 8, you'll get the positive solution. There will be both of these on today's worksheet, so just make sure you do include both. But just think for applications for any kind of thing we're trying to find a time, you would only use the positive one. All right, thanks guys.